Elizabeth Betty Burns is buried at the Kirk Lane Cemetery in Pollokshaws, Glasgow. Betty was the natural daughter of Robert Burns and Anna Park. Robert had met Anna Park at the Globe Inn in Dumfries, where she was a barmaid, and her sister Margaret was the landlady. She gave birth to Betty shortly before Jean Armour gave birth to William Glencairn Burns. It's thought that she died either in childbirth or shortly after, and Jean Armour, with great kindness, took over and raised Betty Burns. She made the comment that my Robin should have had 2 wives. In 1808, Betty married John Thomson, a private in the Stirling Militia. They were married at Robert Burns's house in Dumfries. The very next day, he was ordered to move with his regiment to Berwick-upon-Tweed. He stayed there for a year, and that is where William, their first child, was born. He was later moved again, at which point Betty and her son moved to Pollokshaws, where John's parents lived. John left the army and moved to Pollokshaws, where he became a hand-loom weaver. He had periods of unemployment, working as a manual labour on a very poor wage. Sir James Shaw had raised money for Burns and his dependents, and she received £200, which enabled her to rent a property and to furnish it. Betty died in 1873, aged 83, and she was buried at the family plot with her husband John, also with 3 of her children. In addition, Gilbert Burns Begg is buried here. He was one of the sons of Isabella Burns, who was the youngest sister of Robert Burns. Of her children, Robert Burns Thomson is buried here with his wife Elizabeth McNaught. He died at Shawlands. Also Margaret Thomson, who married the collier poet David Wingate. She died at Crossmaloth in 1896, aged 63. And finally buried here is James Glencairn Thomson, who died in 1911. Robert Burns Thomson, one of Betty's 9 children, composed the following verses that were carved on the family grave. Worn and weary home at last, life its toils and trials past, nor care nor pain, nor want's chill blast, can evermore come near thee. Sweetly tranquil be thy rest, like the turf lean o'er thy breast. With 9 spirits of the blest, from Ariel to glory, bear thee. My Daddy's Away at the War was a song composed by Robert Burns Thomson that was popular during the Crimean conflict. He also composed poems, however he never put them into print. Betty Burns had sadly been excluded from the 1844 Burns Festival in Ayr. However, at the Burns Centennial in 1859 in Glasgow, her children were central to the celebration. In fact, both James and Robert were invited to sing at the event.